Welcome. Hello. It's that time of day. The evening, to be precise. It is the evening right now on a Thursday, which means that it is time for the MrWarrenHayes Show live stream. The crowd goes wild. How's everybody doing? No, I'm not adjusting the brightness on my screen while I'm streaming. I absolutely am not doing that. I did that previously. What are you talking about? How dare you accuse me of such an indignation that I wouldn't be completely prepared. Welcome everyone. I am thrilled to the gills to be here with you on this lovely Thursday. I hope you're into it too. I am in good spirits. I am in much better spirits than I was on the Monday stream. Very, very much so. And look, I'm not going to, well, we'll see how far I get into the details, but, I feel a little more comfortable pulling back the curtain a little bit. On Monday, I let things hang a little bit, letting everyone giving the very vague information that there was stuff going on with a member of my family that required a certain amount of attention, and my schedule was a little more up in the air, and I was afraid to open up about things, but because things were very uncertain at that point. But I can now, I feel a little more confident opening up a little more. Again, without getting into the truly deep details, my mother has been hospitalized since Saturday. She took a pretty bad spill on Saturday evening, and she broke her hip, and so called the ambulance and whatnot, and she's been there since Saturday, and she underwent surgery Tuesday, which was successful, and she's going to be on the mend. She's going to be a lot better. There's going to be some changes here, but Mama Hayes is doing quite well considering everything. She's tough old Irish stock, so she's going to be absolutely okay. There was a time the reason why I was very cagey about it is because I was very anxious about it, because I was very nervous, because we had talked to the surgeons and whatnot. And, and they all said, well, essentially, if we have to, doing a general anesthesia on an 80-plus-year-old person always comes with a certain amount of risk. It's nothing that it's not when you're 35 and you have, you got to get your spleen out, or what do you get? What surgeries does one get at 35? I don't know. But, it's so, they were a little more, they weren't as gung-ho as to tell us, we'll do the operation, she'll be fine. All right. They were like, well, So that kept me on edge a little bit. But not only did the surgery go well, it went fast. And she's feeling pretty good. She's feeling pretty good, but she's also in pain because she has a new. What they replaced? They replaced the I don't know what the term is, and I should have looked it up, but I just didn't think about it because I guess I'm so relieved. The ball of the hip of the actual thing that allows us our mobility, right? That make the ball, right? They replaced that. She has a titanium one now. They're like, oh, hello. You never go through an airport screener again. Not that she had, quite frankly. But yeah, you know, like that's that, you know, that's the way it is, right? That's how things are moving forward. She is, look, so you know, so considering all of that, considering, you know, the fall, and now she's just gonna heal through it. Yeah, she's in pain, you know, but they give her the great morphine and Diovol and all that great stuff that I had a couple of years ago as well. God, yeah, good times. So you know, so they're controlling the pain that way. She's still very much under observation. Like, we're not even talking about sending her home, or maybe even to like a rehab home type of thing. But I appreciate your concern, everyone. But thank you. It's very touching. My mom's okay. Mama Hayes is okay. She's going to be okay. There's going to be some changes, obviously. You know, it's not going to be plug and play when she returns. There's going to be some things that are going to have to be done differently. But it's good. You know, she's good. The one thing that bothers her the most right now is that she can't watch hockey because there's no TVs in the rooms. And she said, bring me a tablet, bring me my computer. I said, Mom, you hate your computer. You hate it all. Like, you can barely operate it. It's like, you're going to be, what are you going to do? You're going to get the nurses to come do this for you? No, this is not going to work. So she's very upset that she can't watch the Canadiens versus Tampa Bay tonight. The Lightning versus the Canadiens. And there's, just to show you how much I follow pro sports. Apparently, there's this player on the Habs for the Canadiens. Cole Caulfield. He's supposed to score his 50th goal of the season, which is a significant milestone. For a hockey player in one season. 50 goals is rather spectacular. That's a big deal. And my mom is kind of upset that she won't get to see it. She goes, I guess I'll watch it on replay. Well, yes, I know. I would tell her, like, yeah, absolutely. You're going to be fine. Everything's fine. But she's kind of upset that she won't get to see this one dude sink his 50th goal. And that being said, it might not even be tonight. There's a fair chance, but you know, there might also be. He might also not score. Is the thing. Cole Caulfield. Yeah, exactly. No, not Holden Caulfield. That's a whole other mess right there. I don't think he gives a shit about scoring ice hockey goals. I don't think yeah, the phony, exactly. He doesn't give a shit. Anyway, so that's why I was a little frazzled on Monday, and I wasn't sure how the schedule was going to turn out, and so on and so forth, which is one of the reasons why I did a shortened version of the Dynamite review, because I went to spend the afternoon at the hospital with Mom. So that's essentially it. That's essentially my reason as to whether or not, as I was trying to pull things together, and I was like, okay, will I be able to do this? Will I be able to have time to do that? It's kind of crazy, and I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of crazy. So it's a bit of an upheaval, but also I'm not complaining. She's. I'm glad she's out of danger. I'm glad her pain can be controlled. For the longest time, my mother would complain that I was the source of the greatest pain in her life, because I took 22 hours in labor to finally get popped out. And apparently it was excruciating, and I was, 22 hours. Me. and for the longest time, she'd hold that against me. She held that up over my head, and now it's the hip. Now she outright says, this is the worst pain I've felt in my entire life. And I challenged her. I even said, hang on a second. Let's just get this right. And yes, she's in pain in the meantime, and I'm sitting there, memeing. Are you telling me that after all these years of you saying I was the worst pain you ever felt in your life, this is worse? And she thinks about it for a second and she says, yes, this is worse. So there you go. The takeaway here is childbirth is not so bad. And childbirth is not so bad, and women have to stop complaining. Personally, that's my takeaway. I don't know about you guys. How you doing this evening, chat? Lovely to have you here with us. Hikadu, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Maggie O'Cannon, nice to see you as well. Welcome. Also a member of the Mr. Warren. It is good to see you, Mr. Warren Hayes channel. Travis AEW1, nice to see you too. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Lily of the Vale, hey, it's nice to see you again. Welcome to the chat, also a member of the channel. Look at all these lovely members. Mr. Antox, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. It's funny how you start at 7. Ring of Honor has now moved to 7. I mean, I'm starting. These are special start times because I came home from the hospital maybe like 90 minutes ago. Maybe a little more now. Maybe 2. Maybe an hour and 40 minutes ago. So I wanted to give myself time to eat. I wanted to eat before doing anything else. So I wanted to eat, sort of get my notes together, and then stream. So if I started at 7:30, I'd just start too early. But I'll eventually return to the 7:30 time. Hey, Kadu with the membership. Thank you so much, buddy. I appreciate it. I appreciate the support tremendously. Thank you for your membership. Thank you for your confidence. Your sign of trust. I appreciate it immensely. Who else is here? Who else we got? Silver Apocalypse. Nice to see you and welcome. Also member of the channel on top of that. Johnny6967. Ayo. Nice to see you and welcome. Also member of the channel. It is called Coalfield. All right. Okay, cool. It is called Coalfield. My mom's a big fan. I guess you're both big fans. Rory Starks. Nice to see you and welcome to the chat as well. Luis Ramirez, nice to see you. And welcome. Warren, are you going to talk about hang on a second, I'm going to get this. Abdu Amamria. I'm pretty sure I got that. Thank you for nice to see you. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Hello. Welcome. Cheers, etc. We're going to talk about the Tony Khan Vince Russo interview. I don't know what to say about it. I don't know exactly what to talk about in that regard. Okay. Obviously I did watch it. Like I found it was a big bag of nothing. Ultimately, listen. Okay, my main issue that I had wasn't even with what went on in the interview. My main problem was legitimizing Vince Russo and then like giving him wings. Where I sincerely believe Vince Russo is is wholeheartedly responsible for poisoning pro wrestling. He's been a destructive force in professional wrestling for all the years that he's been involved in it. I mean, specifically on TV. Right now, I don't give a shit. But this is a man who has been a detriment to pro wrestling. He helped change it for the worse. And I think he should be left in his corner, trying to scramble, doing a podcast or whatever, and just be as far away from pro wrestling as possible. So my main issue, and still remains the same here, even though the interview was a big bag of nothing, is Tony Khan going there legitimizes what he's doing now. Like that gives a shot of credibility in the arm of Vince Russo, and he doesn't deserve it, and he shouldn't get it, you know. And that's just how it goes. Now, for the interview itself, I really think it was a whole bag of nothing. I think, you know, Tony just let them talk, and he smiled, and he did perfect PR. I think Jonathan Coachman is an awful presentator, and that's coming from me, you know, a stuttering D-list podcaster. I think he's awful. I think he's absolutely awful at what he does. I wanted to strangle him, like figuratively speaking, of course, in Minecraft. When he started telling Tony Khan, you know, Tony, you have to look into the camera, right? You have to look into the camera to create a connection with your audience. Like, you know, like Tony's getting, you know, an audition on fucking Sports Center. You know, there's another reason why Coachman is not working on any networks these days, right? This is all the stuff that everyone sort of has to realize. These media figures, right? Jonathan Coachman worked for ESPN on top of that. You know, why doesn't he have a job? And I'm not necessarily saying in pro wrestling. It's like in media. Why doesn't he have a job? Why doesn't Vince Russo have, if he's such a wrestling genius, why doesn't he have a pro wrestling job? Hey, he books Juggalo Championship Wrestling. You just proved my point. You know, why isn't Eric Bischoff, you know, running successful television programs up and down if he is such a great businessman with such a grasp of the television business? Because they're all fucking phonies and failures and it's just complete bullshit, and they try to pretend that there's something they're not. You know. Anyway, look, Tony went out there and did exactly what Tony Khan does, and sits down and smiles and is super affable, and you know, he dodged a bunch of questions, but why would he be? What? And this was all in the context of a media tour for Dynasty, and you know, he did exactly what he had to do, and he went on a controversial podcast who typically have very differentiating opinions than he does. Showed himself to be very likable, very talkable, easy to talk to, I should say. You know, a very good media appearance. You know, especially on a show that had the potential to be very hostile towards him. I love how after Tony got off the Zoom, Coachman was like, I think he actually respected us. Coachman, Jonathan Coachman is like, whoa, he actually might like us, you know, kind of thing. Shocker. I think the look into the camera was to throw him off. Coachman is just awful. He's just terrible. Vince Russo kept giving him advice. I know. But you know what? Here's the thing. He didn't confront him and start going off with, oh, shut up, Vince, with your fucking casual fans, you know, kind of thing. It's like, and then he'd answer with, you know, with one of his patented filibuster, you know, going around in circles answers, and there you go. That's all. He didn't give in. He could have cracked. He could have given in, and he didn't. And I thought he looked like ultimately looked very good. So I those are my thoughts. I don't know what. There was nothing of substance that was discussed there. Vince Russo and Jonathan Coachman are irritating as fuck, and you know, Vince Russo is an evil force in professional wrestling. He's just a bad presence in pro wrestling. He always has been, and people need to remember that, right? Because that's the thing. That's the thing I was worried about. Is that ultimately, once it's all done, once it's, you know, then people see when positive situations arrive like that, then fans today then have a tendency to retcon things. And since Tony Khan went on the show and came across so positively, and those two dorks like had nothing but glowing things to say about him once it was gone. I was afraid that AEW fans were going to go back and we're going to start retconning Vince Russo and say, you know, Vince Russo, he wasn't so bad, you know, Judy Bagwell on a pole, you know, kind of thing. And it's like, yes, you can go back and make fun of the things that Russo decided to bring together. But Russo was such a fucking detriment. He demolished the presentation of pro wrestling, because this was a guy who did not like pro wrestling. He still does not like pro wrestling. He's all about the skits, the bits, the crash TV, all that stuff. He doesn't like pro wrestling. If Vince Russo could put on a pro wrestling show with no pro wrestling, he'd do it. He came fucking close on a couple of occasions in WCW of doing that. He came really, really close. No, he's a problem. And I lived through it. I sat through it, especially as a guy who had a tendency to prefer WCW over WWF back in the day. It was extremely irritating. It was very, very frustrating. Very, very frustrating. Pedro the Fifth, nice to see you and welcome. I think what you take away from the interview and Russo's response afterwards is that Vince was such a horrible person. He convinced successful wrestling can only happen with an asshole. TK proves otherwise. Sure, okay. I'll go with that. I'll go with that, because that's what he's stuck on at the end, right? It's like, you're too much of a nice guy, Tony. You're too much of a nice guy, and that's what he was saying, right? On Twitter, I believe he was saying that. I liked it every time Tony was like, you know, Vince, from your time, and Russo every time was like, nah, I got it right the first time, never changed it to this day, bro. Yeah. Anyway, that's all I want to say. That's all I want to talk about in regards to TK on the Bro and Coach show. Is that what they call it? Coach and Bro? Whatever. I don't care. I really don't care. But I do care about the topics we got tonight. I do care about telling you that the AEW Dynamite review was released earlier today. A shorter version, as I usually do, because I was a little pressed for time. I had to squeeze it out, and I didn't, and I dropped it right there. And I think I managed to provide something interesting. I think that was a good review nonetheless. So that's available right now. Of course, the Mr. Warren Hayes show is available since yesterday as well. The big highlight on that one was my Sakura Genesis review from New Japan Pro Wrestling this past weekend. And isn't it interesting that it all tied into Dynamite last night? It's almost as if Will Ospreay is pulling all the strings. It's almost as if. So that's what we're doing. So we have those things out, and this weekend, of course, is the big AEW Dynasty pay-per-view. We're going to be previewing it in just a few moments. So we're going to walk through the card together. We're going to get ourselves hyped for it. And since it's an AEW pay-per-view, and since I'm reviewing it, that means that there will be no live stream next Monday. Mark your calendars, folks. Tell your moms and pops, tell your kids, tell your administrative assistants that there will be no Mr. Warren Hayes show live stream next Monday night, because that's when I'm going to be recording the review and making it available in early access to members of the Mr. Warren Hayes show channel. If you want to be a member of the channel, do like Hikaru did earlier on tonight. Hit the join button, become a member. You get all this beautiful early access stuff. Just beautiful and squeaky and fun and I'm going to be doing the review on Monday, essentially. And then the rigmarole continues. Mr. Warren Hayes show next week, and blah, 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 blah. And it's early access, right? The review. So of course it's going to be available later in the week to everyone on planet Earth. But You know, the members. They get in on the ground floor. I think that pretty much covers everything. I don't think I'm forgetting anything. Oh, did you check out Jesse Collins' podcast and article over on the Voices of Wrestling website? Jesse released his annual AEW fan survey where he gets AEW fans to come answer all sorts of questions regarding their experience in regards to watching and enjoying AEW. Fourth year, something. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So he released it this year. All the results practically doubled the amount of respondents this year, which was tremendous. So much data to go through, and he shared it with me beforehand because I joined him to discuss it on his podcast, the Gentleman's Wrestling Podcast, where we break down the data and talk about it and do some deep dives into what we're seeing and, you know, how we feel about these trends and how fans feel. And there was a couple of very surprising data points there as well. So read the article on voiceofwrestling.com to get a full view of the results of the survey, and then listen to the Gentleman's Wrestling Podcast, available on all your podcast platforms, as a member of the Voice of Wrestling Podcast Network or not. And yeah, there you go. So that's really cool. And I think I'm gonna have an article out tomorrow for Voices of Wrestling. Not tomorrow, over the weekend or something. It's all in Rich's hand. I don't think he published it yet. I'm gonna check real quick. Oh, did he? No, he didn't. No, he didn't publish it yet. So he's probably saving it for tomorrow because it's such a good article. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Lilia the Veil, member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel for 44 months. Thank you so much. You seem shocked. What the heck? You seem shocked. You seem shocked, but I know you've been around for a while. You're one of the you're one of the people who have the grand stature here. You've got tenure. There's the word I was looking for. You've got tenure. All right. Enough's enough. Enough's enough with all this bullshit. We got to get some order here. We got to get things under order here. This is we got to keep things under control.
How you doing, everybody? I'm Jacques Moliere.
This guy's going to keep us
tell you a little bit about
straight and
I'm
narrow.
a nunchuck master.
This is a nunchuck master.
He represents NWA, Captain Wrestling. Hoo-yah!
Warren is like that one subscription we thought you canceled years ago, but it's still billing you. Fuck you, DJMC, member of the channel. How you doing? Welcome to the chat. Patrick, nice to see you too. Chiming in at the exact moments. Good to see you, Patrick. Also member of the channel. Jacques is here to straighten your life. Yeah, one nunchuck shot to the head at a time. That's what he's gonna do. All right, we're gonna circle back to this thing here. No. We don't need the music though. That's fine. Because we're gonna start by previewing, I should say, AEW Dynasty, which is happening this weekend on April the 12th, 2026, from the old Rogers Arena in Vancouver, in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia. You know, the difference here, now that's funny. Patrick is a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel for 15 months. And we're celebrating his quinceañera today. I'm sure you look beautiful, Patrick. I'm sure you're beautiful. You know, when the first time I was exposed to what a quinceañera was, I had no idea what it was, and I'm definitely pronouncing it wrong, right? It was on an episode of Hell's Kitchen. It was on. I used to consume Hell's Kitchen like it was nobody's business, and there's one episode where Gordon Ramsay rents out the restaurant for a quinceañera, right? And I'm sort of taken aback, and I'm like, wait, so it's a coming of age party for young Mexican ladies. Okay, all right. That's how I found out. So essentially what I'm saying is Gordon Ramsay is your window to the world. That's how I found that's quinceañera. Is that how you pronounce it? Quinceañera. Oh yeah, okay, that makes sense because the N has the tilde on, right? It's not na, it's nya. Okay, that makes sense. Breaking on the first topic, exactly. Mine was MTV Super Sweet 16. Oh my God. That must have been something. Quinceañera. I will never beat the gringo allegations, let me tell you. Vehemently. Nah, I'll say vehemently whichever fucking way I want, though. I will respect the languages I can't speak, but I will butcher the languages I speak however I see fit. All right. Let's get my head in the game here. We do have a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. Hope you're comfortable. Hope you have a nice blankie. Let's start finally by previewing AEW's Dynasty show that's happening this weekend, April 12, 2026, from beautiful British Columbia, Vancouver. Beautiful Vancouver, beautiful British Columbia. Both Vancouver and British Columbia are beautiful. We might add, like, you know, beautiful regardless. At the Rogers Arena, which is fine. It's, you know, it's a facility. It's not my definition of beautiful, you know, but maybe in the eyes of someone who enjoys, you know, sporting facilities, arenas, maybe they're like, yes, it is beautiful here. I don't know. Beautiful Vancouver. One of the most expensive cities in the world to live in. I thought it was just like North America, but Vancouver is like one of the most expensive cities in the world to live in. And it is such a shame because it's a gorgeous place. Anyway, progressive too. Anyway. Yeah, so the Dynasty kind of came together, I find, fairly quickly. We had been hanging around for a couple of weeks just with no matches. Not with no matches, it was just a couple of matches. For the longest time, the only match that we had, the first match that we had confirmed for this was the tag team championship match, right? The FTR versus Cope and Christian. And that's the only one really that's been following us the whole time. And then everything else sort of fell into place afterwards. And then as per tradition, then suddenly Tony Khan starts filling up the card. Last night's Dynamite added, I think, like 3-4 matches to the card. Like, holy shit, okay. And we still only have 9, and I say only, we still have only 9 matches on the card to this moment right now. And Tony likes to give the people the money's worth. So 2 more matches? Probably. I think we can expect 2 more. 3? 11, 12. Or he just leaves it like this. He just leaves it at 9. And then, everyone who complains that the pay-per-views are too long will jump for joy, I guess. Couldn't be me. But this is where we're at right now, and this is what we've got going. So, but the point ultimately is that this card came together really, really quickly, and I wouldn't say that it's the most. I wouldn't say this was the most compelling build, but it was a good build to this show overall, I would say. The misconception that what I believe to be the misconception, how about that, in a lot of pro wrestling fans' minds is that, the card, everything on the card needs to have a story, needs to have proper build and so on and so forth. It needs to be announced, months in advance, and has to be these long-term stories where in fact, no one gives a fuck about the mid card. Like no one cares about the mid card. What's important and your selling points, your system sellers are going to be the top matches that you put in. So that's why we got early on, we got the tag team titles, why MJF versus Kenny Omega was also settled early on in the process. And Mox versus Will Ospreay, which actually kicked off at Revolution. So, yeah, I'm sorry to say, Andrade and Darby is not going to be the match that is going to draw people into the building. This isn't the one that you're going to pull out the credit card for. You're going to be happy to have this match on your card, but you need the upper crust. You need the top of the card to be strong and interesting, whereas everything else is just like, well, okay, just add some cool matches after that, Tony. I don't care. I don't care that Okada and Takeshita versus the Bucks had no build. I don't give a shit. I don't care. It's going to be a cool match. Now, if this was slotted in a main event spot, I'd be like, well, I feel I could have been a little more excited for this. A little more care should have went into planning this, right? So, we'll see how all this goes. But as it stands, as I said, if this stayed at 9, I don't care. If it goes up to 12, I don't care. You guys and gals and non-binary pals know by now that I am not the guy who's going to sit here and stomp my feet and bitch because I'm watching too much wrestling. Couldn't be me. But let's get into the show itself. Let's start with the main event. MJF defending the AEW World Championship against Kenny Omega. No gimmicks, no wacky-doo stipulations. Just a straight to the point wrestling match. You gotta appreciate that. I know I do. Nothing that will allow MJF to cheat liberally in the match or nothing like that. No ladders, no straps, no, I don't know, falls count anywhere. Best 2 out of 3 falls. Name your stipulation. It's like it's really good, if you ask me. It's really, really good that this is just like a one-on-one match, and I am so excited to watch this. I'm so excited to get a hold of this match. I do remember the match they had on Collision a couple of years ago, for the world title when MJF was in his reign of terror, and I remember this was before we knew Kenny was sick, right? And I remember watching the match and saying, something didn't click here. There was something missing, and I'm like, This ain't it type of thing. But then find out about the diverticulitis and like, oh shit, okay, that probably explains something. That probably explains why Kenny was, maybe not at the top of his game. Now, well, we've seen Kenny wrestle since returning a couple of times, and we know that he can absolutely be at the top of his game. And MJF is a great professional wrestler. It's just as simple as that. And I know we're supposed to bend ourselves backwards and then say, oh yeah, but if only he didn't talk as much, if only he wasn't as edgy. I know. But as a professional wrestler, as a guy who steps into a ring and delivers, this guy gets it. And he likes to get on the mic. He likes to act like he's above it all, just like he did earlier today on the Busted Open. We'll talk about that later, I promise. He was on Busted Open, and he was also, he was talking about his match against Kenny and saying, look, I'm not here running after stars, 6 stars, 7 stars in the Tokyo Dome, blah, blah, blah. I know, and to a degree, there is truth to that. But MJF is also a guy who wants to have the output. He wants to be able to be in the conversation of being one of the great workers of this era or all time. Like, his career is not over yet, right? But this is always my main criticism when it comes to people who just have this rage on for MJF. My criticism is always the same, is that it's a shame that you guys can't just chill out, disassociate what your feelings from, what he says in the ring and his alleged edgy persona, and just watch a truly gifted professional wrestler put on incredible matches. I mean, he legitimately can do it all. He can have any type of match and make that match great. And but Warren, he only wrestled, he wrestled Danielson, sure. What does that mean? What do you think that means? He's not a schlub, and he hangs with these guys. He's not pulling a Hulk Hogan where the other guy does all the work. He's extremely good at what he does. My long-winded way of saying that he and Kenny Omega have another chance to put on an all-timer, and I think they're going to go for it. And it's probably going to end in a very shitty way. It's probably going to end with MJF having to stealing his Dynamite Diamond ring back from Kenny Omega and using it, and we're all going to go, oh, fuck you, Max. That's probably going to be it. But he's a heel. What do you want? What do you like? At the same time, it's like there's a part of that as well in the character. Look, it's going to be. I'm very, very much looking forward to this match. I'm very, very much looking forward to it. It's going to be great. It is going to be great, and MJF is winning. And I don't know if anyone is holding out hope for Kenny Omega to pick up the dub here, but unless there's something that is coming out of left field, Max getting this incredible Hollywood opportunity, Alicia's pregnant, whatever, right? Unless there's this huge thing coming out of left field, there is no way MJF is losing this match, especially if the upcoming contender is Darby Allin, which still has to be settled on the show, but they already have history together. So I'm completely throwing Kenny under the bus. He's not winning this one. But look, the floor on this match for me is great. That's the floor. That's my expectation. A great match. And it could easily be a match of the year if the guys click and they're ready to go to that level. But the floor to me is great. if it's less than that, it's going to be, I'm gonna sit here the next day and do my review and tell you all, well, yeah, well, this match was very good, but it underdelivered. That'll be my review, essentially. Cola the Lodger, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Also member of the channel on top of that. The first Kenny MJF match was still very good, one of the few bright spots in a very dark time for AEW. I'm not saying it was bad. You are absolutely correct. Man, we're talking peak brochacho era here. Like, this match was a salve for people like us. Well, you and I. I don't want to talk about everyone else, yeah, like that one did a lot of good. Cool match and has an incentive for Takeshita. He wants him and Okada to win so he can get a title shot at Double or Nothing. Wait, what are we talking about? I think I'm gonna have to circle back to that. You know what? I didn't see the Friedland show yet. I know. I haven't watched it yet. Hanging around with my elderly mother, she probably doesn't want to hear things where, pro wrestlers are screaming on my phone. She probably doesn't. In fact, I know she doesn't care for it much. I'm not going to allow myself any hope that Kenny might win. Otherwise, it'll be the biggest. I'll be the biggest piss baby in Rogers Arena when MJF retains. That's a fair idea. Kenny already gave back his ring. He did. He's too honest. When did he do that? Did he drop it and leave, or that sucks? I don't really need Darby to challenge right now. It won't be right now. It'll be in a month. I know what you meant. Yeah, but Darby's coming up. Darby's coming up. There's I know a lot of people don't want to hear this. Maybe not, but there was a time last year in the build to All In where Hangman Adam Page wasn't the guy. He wasn't supposed to be the guy, and there was a Darby Allin who was maybe a little more who was a little more into it. Just saying. Yeah. Unless MJF tears a hamstring between now and Sunday, he's not losing. He pops a neuron, screaming about Carlos Silva. I think the best idea is for MJF to retain and then lose it to Ospreay at All In. Kind of seems like the best idea, right? Them winning against the dastardly heel. I think that'd make the most sense. All right. What else we got? That was just the first match. Let's talk about Jon Moxley defending the AEW Continental Championship against William Ospreay. This has been a fantastic build. The punctuation mark that they added last night with the United Empire guys coming in was absolutely phenomenal. And when I saw the United Empire guys show up, and I was expecting them to come because at Sakura Genesis, in one of the post-match things, post-match interviews, Will was talking to them and he says, "Hey lads, I might need some help. There's some trouble at work. I might need some help, something to that effect." They're like, "Oh, okay." He's bringing some of the UE guys, and they showed up, and no one's like really excited because not a lot of people in Edmonton, and I would say not that many people watching AEW these days know who these people are. So you know, they're like, okay, and it was a little awkward. But by the end of the match, by the end of the main event match, holy smokes, that crowd, it was completely on their side. I had people bouncing up and down on Blue Sky talking about how Henare was great. Who is this guy? You know, I think even Travis was like, you know, tell me about him more. And, you know, and I shared that article from a couple of years ago when he came back to New Japan after his injury and he had all those Maori tattoos. He gave an interview talking about what they all meant, you know, and it's like, oh shit, okay, it's not just something to look completely fierce. It's just like there's actual meaning and thought behind it, and that's really cool. And a lot of people gravitated to that, and Tony Schiavone was a huge fan of Francesco Akira, as I am. Fucking love Francesco Akira. I've loved him for years. And so look, they ended up winning the crowd over at the end with some incredible stuff. It was such a good main event, excellent main event on top of that. But Will Ospreay was left standing tall at the end, folks. That's not good. That's not a good sign. At least for Dynamite, for Dynasty. It's not necessarily a good sign. You know, I've noticed that AEW is doing that trope more, where before the pay-per-view, you know, whoever stands tall loses the match. They've started doing that. I think the first time I noticed was on the Go Home show was it Wrestle Dream when or Full Gear when Hangman lost the title to Joe? I can't remember which one. I'm sure one of you will. And Hangman on the Go Home Dynamite was standing tall over Joe, and I was just shrugging. I was like, oh, subverting the expectation, the trope. You know, Hangman's not dropping the title to Samoa Joe, and he dropped it. So it wasn't Full Gear, and he dropped the title to Samoa Joe at Full Gear. I was like, what? So yeah, that I would be careful here. I would be careful here. It would appear to me that our boy Will Ospreay is not winning the Continental Championship. Now, these are under Continental rules, right? If it's the Continental Championship, so everyone is barred from ringside, and there's a 20-minute time limit. So maybe that's the path that we're going to go. Maybe. But if Will does indeed lose here, this is finishing, or doesn't win. How about that? If Will doesn't win at Dynasty, this feud must continue and will end at Double or Nothing with this stipulation. And maybe like with Takeshi Star, it's going to be no time limit type of thing. And then Will win the title. I still think that there was no reason for Jon Moxley to have the title in this feud. It still doesn't. But this is going to be great. This is another one where the floor is extremely high. The floor here is great. And this match I'm talking about right now is the match I'm most looking forward to on Dynasty. This is my jam. Jon Moxley is incredible. He has been on an all-timer run since divesting himself of Adam Copeland last year. He has been consistently great all throughout. And it continues, and he never stops. This man is a machine. He just never fucking stops. I'm so excited for this match. Two wrestlers I absolutely adore. Next, let's talk about FTR defending the AEW World Tag Team Championship against Cope and Cage. It's going to be fine. You know, it's going to be fine. It's not going to be the thing that's going to get me the most excited on the show. You can tell they're already going to be leading into a big story because they Pillmanized Cage's arm, and that's going to definitely come into play in the match. And it's going to be a lot of Adam Copeland's self-indulgence, and they're going to win the titles. And it'll be what it's going to be. You know, a couple of weeks ago, at the very least, I was saying, I want to say too many things at once. Even though I'm not that big of a fan, not even that big of a fan, I'm not a fan of Adam Copeland's run in AEW, and you know, I think he has terrible instincts and whatnot. I think that there's something that I have to respect for him going out there and still, at the very least, wanting to mix it up with people who are, you know, on a high level or at their peak. You know, they want to wrestle FTR. Of course, there's personal reasons there, but you know, they mentioned they want to wrestle the Bucks. They want to do all of this, right? Whereas, you know, Matt Hardy, Jeff Hardy, Devon Dudley, and Bubba Ray Dudley, they're siphoning off whatever feel good nostalgia they have just to try and get one more payday. Whereas these guys are, I got to give them that at the very least. They're, specifically Copeland, trying to stay relevant, right? I mean, Christian Cage, I want to keep him separate from my feelings with Cope because Cage has been tremendous in AEW. He's been absolutely phenomenal, a true to form revelation. He was a high point for months at a time in this company. So, you know, we often talk about the masters of reinvention and we always talk about Jericho, but Christian Cage, holy smokes. Anyway, I don't think the setup is going to be for me. There's a very good chance I'm going to be very annoyed with this match, or they'll just turn around and they'll completely surprise me. But I think it's going to be very, very self-indulgent, and it's going to be very sports entertainment coded, and that's my vibe. But look, I will gladly be surprised. I will gladly be surprised to eat crow at the review. Absolutely. As your fellow Canadians, Copeland has a nasty habit of overindulging, aka going longer than they should. Hey, what are you trying to say? I hated it too, brother. I hated it too. Tekla will be defending the single. Congratulations, Warren. Tekla will be defending the AEW Women's World Championship against Jamie Hayter. The flatline build to this match is a crime against humanity. There is no reason why this match should not be hot. I don't know why they spent next to nothing building it up on Dynamite. They're probably going to run a big angle on Collision, but this legitimately feels like a missed opportunity. This 100% means this 100% is a missed opportunity without a shadow of a doubt. That promo, that Tekla cut on Dynamite last night was incredible. Just absolutely incredible. She was phenomenal. And Jamie Hayter is absolutely phenomenal as well. Let's just go. Let's just have these two ladies just week after week find ways and reasons to try to beat each other up. Tekla doing it, in a very roundabout, very nasty way, ambushing Jamie and stuff like that. And Jamie just like running up to her and belting her one across the chin. How fucking cool would this build have been? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the issue is exactly here, but I feel like this was not the program that was supposed to happen. And I don't know what else it could have been. All I'm saying is that this doesn't feel right. Just for the way it was built. I feel like Jamie Hayter's spot was supposed to be taken by someone else, and there was some kind of substitution. That's how it comes across to me as. Because at the same time, you want Jamie Hayter to continue focusing on the tag team titles, which are currently like, we're waiting for the Brawling Birds to be available. Which, on the other hand, is bad booking, because the Toronto Dominion, they could be in a little mini TV feud with, a lower card tag team act like Hyon and Maya World in the meantime, and they could pay it off on the pre-show here of the pay-per-view, and everyone will clap their hands and go, yay. I don't know, like it's weird, right? It's very weird. Anyway, yeah, Tekla retains. Should be a good match. I want to sound like I'm complaining. This should be a good match. Chris Jericho returns into AEW Action against Ricochet. I don't know. Chris Jericho's a babyface. I'm not into it. He's brought back the list. I don't know if it was a one-time thing or, Chris Jericho going back to a beloved gimmick just to make sure that people are excited to see him, to get them invested in something, I'm completely okay with. Instead of trying to push some, like, could you imagine if instead of doing the list, he had decided to do callbacks to the Jericho Appreciation Society and people go, boo, that sucked, type of thing. He probably did the best thing here. Like, to everyone has fond memories of the list of Jericho, and he brought it back. And I don't know if like I said, I don't know if it's a one-time thing or if it's going to be a new thing, but that's where we're at right now with that. But I'm not into it. I'm not into babyface Chris Jericho. Going up against Ricochet, well, look, I mean, Ricochet is excellent. He's a great pro wrestler. If there is anyone I would put my faith in to deliver something good and to, I don't want to say carry because that would be the wrong word, to guide Jericho back down the path, who hasn't wrestled in, easily a year. I think that's a good idea. I think that's a good idea. I think Ricochet's a good opponent. There's no reason for me here to believe that this is going to be bad. Look, Chris Jericho looks amazing. He is in great shape right now. He's in better shape than when he left AEW. He looks tremendous. He's like, how will that translate to in-ring work? We'll have to see. We'll have to see if he's able to go, if he can bounce around and jump around as well as he normally can, or is he just going to be a shell of himself as it was the case, towards the end of his run? Then again, he was feuding with Hook, trying to get Hook over, and Hook being who Hook is, wasn't necessarily the guy who'd be able to work around Jericho's weak spots. Whereas Ricochet is phenomenal, and he's, he'll be a magician in this circumstance. So, I think this will be good. I think Jericho wins his return match. This one piques my curiosity. I'll be excited to see how this is going to turn out, quite frankly. Jericho should wear that silver Jushin Thunder Liger outfit from more. Now that's my kind of callback. That's my kind of callback. My hot take is Triple H fumbled not signing Jericho. Jericho would have had the 2026 WWE Universe eating out of his palm. Correct. I am in complete agreement with those statements. Hello, Kristen Ashley. So nice to see you. Welcome to the chat, darling. Hey, by the way, I don't think I said hi to Carlos over our Boy Sports and Things shows earlier on. Hi, Carlos. What else we got? The Young Bucks will be taking on Kazuchika Okada and Konosuke Takeshita. This has been such a weird build to a match that is inevitable. Like it's really been weird with all sorts of twists and turns and ups and downs, and you don't quite understand why it's been this tortuous to get to Takeshita and Okada. You know, I don't understand why we got to this point. I don't get it. I legitimately don't get it. I don't know why we're messing around with Konosuke Takeshita that much. He's one of the best wrestlers on the planet. And it's like I was talking about in the Sakura Genesis review, where he went to a time limit with Shota Umino defending the TV title, the New Japan TV title. The guy has 3 contracts. He is contracted by 3 separate wrestling promotions, and not one of those 3 sees him as the guy. Now, okay, he was the world champion. He won the G1 and was the world champion in New Japan last year. Okay. But they also didn't quite know how to handle him. They didn't know quite they didn't quite know what to do with him, right? Now it's like he's a guy nowhere. There's no landing spot for him there. I don't know, like this feud between them both, and I don't mind feuds being stretched out and being, you know, having gravitas and history to them, but at some point you just got to keep things interesting. And there has been a time in this feud where it hasn't been interesting, and I think it would have been more interesting if Konosuke Takeshita had come out of the Jon Moxley feud with the title, with the Continental title, and then, you know, parade around with arguably the second biggest title in the company, while Okada's there with his title, and they, you know, the alpha male posturing continues, and eventually you get a match between the both to create the unified championship and bring, you know, that disc back again, right? So, you know, it's like, and look, that, you know, I don't even know if, okay. They were mentioning on Dynamite, you know, Don Callis was saying, "Oh, this match is never going to happen. You know, I'm running a sports franchise. I'm running a sports franchise here. I don't care if guys don't get along. We just have to work together and make money," type of thing. And then Takeshita also challenged, well, basically said, "Look, if we win against the Bucks, I want a shot at the international title at Double or Nothing," right? And it's like, is that really going to happen? Like, you could see Takeshita also eating shit here with the Young Bucks picking up a win. To a degree, it would make more sense for the Young Bucks to get a win, especially if they're next in line to fight the new tag team champions for a shot at the titles, right? So that makes a lot more sense there as well. I don't even think this is happening at Double or Nothing, boys and girls. I don't know what to tell you at this point. Look, let's talk about this after Sunday. We'll get the perfect clear picture, but I wouldn't even be the least surprised if this ends up a situation where Okada leaves Takeshita eat a Meltzer driver, right? Because he saved them from eating a Meltzer driver on Dynamite this week. Okada did. But now they do the same thing, and then Okada maybe comes in to save him, to keep Matt from doing the flip. But then he relents and goes, oh, no, come to think of it, no, I'm good. And he lets Takeshita get pinned, which then means that he doesn't have to defend his title against Takeshita, and then continues this feud. Like, like it'll just never end. It'll just never end. I don't know. I just want resolution on this one. So ultimately, I think the Bucks are winning, is what I'm saying here. That would be my guess. We're also going to get a casino gauntlet match. Tommaso Ciampa is the only man who has been officially added to the proceedings. He won the number one contender spot last night on, not the number one contender spot, the number one spot period in the gauntlet last night on Dynamite, defeating Mascara Dorada. Yeah, look, if they wanted to put it back on Tommaso Ciampa, I'd be fine. I think you can bet Mark Briscoe is going to be in this. Look, I just hope that this is a better gauntlet match than the last ones we got. I think one of the appeals when they did the first few gauntlets, the first two casino gauntlets, one of the things that was really, really cool is that anyone, like the idea was anyone could show up. So you have a bunch of mid-carders and then all of a sudden Will Ospreay's music hits. And you're like, what? Will Ospreay's in this? And then he comes out and, and then you have some nice surprises in there as well. You legitimately have people that you're not expecting joining. And that's what's been missing. And that's part of the charm of this match here. Maybe if Jay White doesn't tweet a tease that he's coming back, that means he'll be back. That'll mean he'll be back. Because he's been tweeting out every pay-per-view, you ready or something like that, and oh, come on. So if he doesn't, he'll be showing up. Yeah, I don't know. Who should we put it on? I don't even know who's in the match. If Tommaso Ciampa, if they decide to go with Ciampa again, I'm fine. I'm fine with that. I don't have an issue with that at all. So we'll have to see how all of that goes. MLA all day. Nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. I think there may be some hesitancy to make Takeshita a top guy because being signed to 3 feds means you may not have him when you need him. Then why did everyone agree to have him wrestle in 3 different promotions then? If they were all going to have cold feet, That's so weird. It's so strange to me. Jericho should help out the young guys by pulling double duty and winning the TNT title. That's awesome. That would be great. That would be the kind of delectable chaos I'd be into. That'd be tremendous. Mike McCullough, nice to see you and welcome. Hey, everyone. Who could we get as a surprise in the gauntlet? Drop your suggestions in the chat, chat. Britt Baker. I know it's a men's casino gauntlet. She's not going to show up. But Britt Baker is always funny. It's always funny. I think a Jay White surprise is... I think Jay White is a safe bet. I think Jay White's a safe bet. Andrade will be facing Darby Allin. If Allin wins, he will receive a future AEW World Championship match, perhaps even a Double or Nothing. Yeah, I think Darby wins here. I think Darby wins. I think the exasperation that Andrade will have towards the non-Callis family will continue to aggravate with this match. It'll be a bit of a turning point, I would say. It's going to be fun because Andrade is going to be very, very violent with Darby. So that'll be fun. And we have one pre-show match booked so far. Alex Windsor versus Marina Shafir. I'll be on the pre-show. No sign of Willow Nightingale yet. I think it's a safe bet that she will be added to the card. Probably against Hikaru Shida. That would be my guess. There you go. That's my preview of AEW Dynasty. Is it going to be any good? I mean, it's the AEW pay-per-view. You tell me. The ceiling is all-time great. The floor is great. So yeah, what do you want from me? You know. How is Toronto Dominion not on the card yet? I don't know. Yeah, they'll probably throw them onto the pre-show. That'll likely be it. Guys, I'm starting to think that maybe this the women's tag team division in AEW is not well booked. I'm starting to think, guys, guys. All right, let's head over to the docket. Oops, completely missed time. It's the first, we're an hour and 17 minutes into the show, and this is the first time you lay your peepers on the docket, folks. What a beautiful docket. It's gorgeous. Lots to talk about. Since we're on the topic of AEW, before we move on to anything else, I want to read this fascinating announcement that happened here. This article that we're going to read on Figure 4 Online Observer. AEW Collision Fairway to Hell is announced for the SoFi Center next month. All right. As first reported by the Miami Herald, AEW will present a special edition of Collision on Saturday, May 9 from the SoFi Center on Palm Beach State College's campus. The venue opened last year and serves as the home of the Tomorrow Golf League, which combines traditional golf with simulated indoor golf. Isn't that the plot of the Adam Sandler movie Happy Gilmore 2? Isn't that the plot of Happy Gilmore 2? A simulator screen measuring 64 by 53 feet is used for TGL competitions. AEW published a press release about the event on Wednesday, noting that the venue can hold more than 1,200 fans. AEW wrote, AEW Collision Fairway to Hell will feature some of the biggest AEW stars in action as they make their debut inside the state-of-the-art SoFi Center for a unique, first-of-its-kind event that will bridge the worlds of pro wrestling and golf together. Oh, my Lord. SoFi Center was built in 2024 and is a versatile event space in South Florida that can seat more than 1,200 guests. Tickets for the show will go on sale Monday, April 13 at 10 a.m. Eastern. AEW trademarked the name Fairway to Hell in 2024. The following year, Tony Khan told Barstool Sports that he hopes to organize a charity golf tournament titled Fairway to Heaven, to coincide with the wrestling event Fairway to Hell. Khan said, I want to do a charity golf tournament called Fairway to Heaven and then have wrestlers and golfers and people participate for a charity at Fairway to Heaven. Have the charity golf tournament on Tuesday and then do Dynamite in the same city or same location/region on Wednesday. Fairway to Hell, Fairway to Heaven, Fairway to Hell. It would be great, right? And I think it'd be awesome. Tony. Yeah, and apparently Tony's trying to get like some pro golfers for the show and some golf influencers. Then when I read that, I was like, golf influencers? And I'm like, well, why wouldn't there be golf influencers, Warren? You dumb. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be interesting at the very least. My curiosity is piqued. Sure. I'm not too excited at the thing they said in the press release that this event will bridge the worlds of pro wrestling and golf together, Now, if by this they mean, oh, we're just going to have, golfers around, I'm like, okay, that's cool. But then if it becomes a thing where it's like, everyone, instead of kendo sticks, people use golf clubs, and then you have a hardcore match where instead of tacks, you got a bag full of golf tees and stuff like that. Then it's gonna start getting a little cringe. But it's interesting. I am not familiar with this venue I'm not familiar with this venue at all. So let's give it a shot. I'm interested to see what it might look like. The live appearance by Tiger Woods is going to be sick. Only if he gets driven there. That's the only way you can guarantee an appearance by Tiger. I would love to see Tom Brady at the tournament. What, is he involved in this shit? I couldn't tell you. I don't know. Have Tiger Woods take a Meltzer driver. Who can? I love both golf and pro wrestling. I've never needed to see the two be bridged. Truer words. All right. I guess we're going to talk about TNA. I guess it's time to talk about LOL TNA. There's no other way. There's, they just keep on doing it. They keep doing it to themselves. Why dunk on TNA when they're entirely capable of dunking on themselves? At this point, if you're on the internet at all, if you frequent any online hunts for pro wrestling, you have heard that TNA has decided to pull their talent from multiple matches over WrestleMania week next week. We're going to go in the chronological order of things, and then we'll have ourselves a good old-fashioned hoedown. Does that work for you, chat? Here we go. The first bit of reporting that we got here started popping up yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, right? This all happened yesterday. It feels like it happened like over 2 days because there were so many twists and turns. But it was even like late afternoon, early evening that this all started to simmer to the surface. When I say yesterday, I mean April the 8th, 2026. Multiple reports on Wednesday indicate that TNA's Moose has been pulled from Maple Leaf Pro's Multiverse event on Friday, April 18, and that changes could be made to other shows during WrestleMania week as well. Moose is said to have received approval from TNA Wrestling to appear before the company later reversed that decision. It is believed he would have worked with talent from another promotion, likely All Elite Wrestling. Mike Johnson of PW Insider wrote that the rumblings in recent days suggest TNA has had a change of heart about allowing its wrestlers to work with talent from other companies. Fightful Select published a similar report Wednesday, also stating that Moose had been pulled from the Maple Leaf Pro show after being previously approved. According to Fightful, quote, sources familiar with the situation, unquote, believe it is possible TNA could move toward not permitting its contracted wrestlers to face AEW talent at all. The report also noted that Nick Nemeth is pushing for his scheduled match against AEW World Champion MJF at Create a Pro Wrestling's May 1st event to still take place. Other matches included for WrestleMania week featuring TNA and AEW talent include Leon Slater versus Ricochet at the Mark Hitchcock Memorial Super Show on April 16. Fightful added that people close to MLP I'm sorry. It's funny because how many, well, anyway, no, I'm not doing source guessing. I'm not doing it. Nope, we're not doing that. Fightful added that people close to MLP indicated TNA president Carlos Silva was unhappy about AEW airing Collision opposite Impact last Thursday night due to NCAA basketball coverage. Moose previously said in an interview last September that he had been unable to work Maple Leaf Pro events due to the promotion's relationship with AEW. Moose said, "I talk to him, aka Scott D'Amore, at least once every other week, maybe once a month. He's doing great. He has his new Fed, Maple Leaf Pro. They're doing awesome. I wish I could work for them, but you know how business is with the whole TNA. They have a relationship with AEW. We're in competition with AEW, so you know all that whole nonsense, and you know how all that nonsense goes." Those comments were later pushed back on publicly by TNA president Carlos Silva, who wrote to our own Dave Meltzer, "Thanks, Dave. Moose knows, and all is good. Scott can call me anytime. He knows that too." Well, this is how everything kind of started. Everyone was like, "Oh, Moose has been pulled," and then you sort of start hearing these rumblings, and then you're like, "Well, I mean, you know, not everyone wants to work a wrestler who, throws his girlfriend down some stairs." I can understand maybe that some people would be a little, you'd be like, you know what, I'm not working with this guy. The juice ain't worth the squeeze here. Now, I understand all of this, and a lot of people. Here's the thing: basically, a lot of folks are going, they're not going to pull everything. Especially not from the Mark Hitchcock Memorial Show, right? They're not gonna pull a match from a memorial show. Like, this is just a thing here. You know, there's probably something weird going on, but it's not gonna be a generalized thing, right? That was the sentiment in a lot of situations, in a lot of people, with a lot of people that I was talking about, right? That I was talking to about this. But then we have some stuff popping up. Indie promoters start popping up on social media to bury TNA. TNA wrestlers, again, another article off of the Figure 4 Online and Wrestling Observer. TNA wrestlers may have a more difficult time getting booked with West Coast Pro moving forward. The promotion is running events on Thursday, April 16 in Las Vegas. Following West Coast Pro's West Coast versus the World, the promotion will also run an event alongside Marvelous Pro Wrestling at 10:30 p.m. Pacific. Both shows will take place at Bazaar Bar in Las Vegas. Promotion owner Scott Brigante posted to social media on Wednesday following news that TNA Wrestling is now blocking its talent from facing wrestlers contracted to other companies on independent shows. Brigante wrote, quote, "Working with talent on an independent level after clearing everything and doing business, only to have said talent pulled after the fact, high or low profile, gives me zero reason to work with anyone from said company making said arrangements. Abysmal dog shit." He later added, quote, "When you have an understanding and it gets cleared, all parties involved have weighed risks. To get it cleared by multiple channels and by multiple companies, and then have said company go back on it is garbage, and a memorial show at that." It's not clear if West Coast Pro had to change its lineup for either of its shows next week as a result of TNA pulling talent. TNA Hall of Famer Gail Kim also commented on the situation. Kim said that if TNA is blocking talent from working certain shows, then the wrestlers should be compensated. She wrote on Twitter, "Hopefully they still get compensated. That's the right thing to do." So is that right, Warren? Is all the talent getting pulled? Or is it just like one promoter going nuts? No. Back on the Figure 4 Online Wrestling Observer, we have another article later on called "Update on TNA Pulling Talent from Shows. MJF versus Nick Nemeth Status." Our own Dave Meltzer is confirming earlier reports on Wednesday that TNA is blocking talent from facing AEW wrestlers on independent shows. Regarding the MJF versus Nick Nemeth match scheduled for Create-A-Pro's show on May 1st, Meltzer says he was told the match is still expected to happen, but there has been an attempt to get it blocked. There have been no updates on the Ricochet versus Leon Slater match scheduled for the Mark Hitchcock Super Show on April 16. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful is reporting that TNA president Carlos Silva has said some TNA talent have been pulled from shows due to quote-unquote partner conflicts. But then in an update to that update, it is written here. Dave Meltzer is reporting that Leon Slater versus Ricochet scheduled for the Mark Hitchcock Memorial Super Show on April 16 is still on as of now. MJF versus Nick Nemeth at Create-A-Pro's show on May 1st now might not happen. Chaos, I tell you. Then it turns out that they did pull Ricochet versus Leon Slater. It probably one of the most exciting matches that everyone was looking forward to all WrestleMania week is getting pulled. But that's not all. It's not just an isolated thing. Friends, TNA reportedly blocked MJF opponent for a planned GCW match, says this article here on the Figure 4 Online Wrestling Observer. By our boy Josh Nason, by the way. A new report from Fightful Select Wednesday revealed yet another MJF match was pulled due to a decision by TNA management, this one coming last month. The outlet reported that the reigning AEW World Champion was set to face Bear Bronson as part of a GCW event in March, but TNA blocked it. Of course. And as Josh points out here, amidst all of these blockings, amidst all of these things, amidst all of these matches being scrapped, Josh here pulls out a very, very good point, saying one of those considerations, however, did not affect Jody Threat, who both took on and defeated Mercedes Moné last week in Winnipeg for Moné's final championship. It's unclear why that was different. Do you think it's because she won? And then it turns out that the Nick Nemeth MJF match is also canceled. It is no longer going to be happening on May 1st. Nick Nemeth is going to wrestle. I think he's wrestling Bear Bronson on the show, and MJF has issued an open challenge for the create. So there'll still be Nick Nemeth, there'll still be MJF on the card at the Create-A-Pro show, but they're not going to be fighting each other, which was another highly anticipated match, and that the guys have been building for months at this point. So Nick Nemeth got on Busted Open Radio and talked about it. He said he's crushed that his match is no longer happening. So this is what he said here. Here's his quote. You know, I was really looking forward to this. I was really, really excited. But yes, as of yesterday, as I was flying in, I found out because of certain partnerships and brands, TNA President Carlos Silva had to make a difficult decision and protect a couple of brands down the line and things that are actually contractually obligated to happen. Can't just kind of do whatever we want. Even though I think some things were approved at a different time, when it became the situation that it is now with a couple of different things happening at once, I feel like I'm crushed because I was very much looking forward to doing this, but it's unable to happen at the moment. Yeah, see, MJF and Nemeth are still working the May 1 event in Melville, New York, but we'll have different opponents. Nemeth is facing fellow TNA star Bear Bronson, while MJF will hold an open challenge. Here's what Nemeth had to say. Still doing the Create-A-Pro show, and refunds will be available. MJF is going to do an open challenge, and and he's still going to be signing and doing all the things that Create a Pro for that big show. All of those things will happen, Nemeth said. I'm going to wrestle Bear Bronson for the first time ever. I hate that it had to come out this way. I hate that this wasn't all taken care of in the past. But that's something we can all work on. I got to start reading some fine print, and we have to protect people that we actually work with and have partnerships with. Usually I'm pretty great about that. So I'll stay on that for everything that we do. So, I mean, look, Nick Nemeth works for the company, right? Carlos Silva is like legitimately his boss. So he's not going to jump on Busted Open and shoot on Carlos Silva. That doesn't make sense. It would have been funny as hell, but it doesn't make sense. But you can tell that there's a little bit of annoyance, right? He's like, oh, we got to pretend some partnerships and some brand deals, right? We got to protect those before anything else. We'll circle back to this. Because if Nick Nemeth sort of held back, MJF didn't. MJF hopped on Busted Open Radio today and called the move that TNA pulled disgusting. Here is the full quote. Let's talk about TNA and the fact that they are pulling young talent off of shows when they're barely paying them any money whatsoever and telling them, hey, you can't wrestle here. There's a guy from another promotion that's wrestling on the show. Does that help your young talent grow? Does that help young talent become better inside the squared circle? Moreover, does that help young talent put food on their plate so they can eat? What Carlos Silva is doing is disgusting. And if anybody supports him or that company at this point, it is very hard for me to wrap my head around. And he also called Carlos Silva on social media, on Twitter, a dumb motherfucker in a social media post earlier on Thursday, excuse me. I mean, a glorious burial by Max here, which I wholeheartedly endorse. I wholeheartedly endorse throwing Carlos Silva under the bus here. I know that there's been a lot of the argument of, well, card subject to change, what's the big issue? I understand the idea of card subject to change. And normally when that kind of stuff happens, it's usually because of things that are out of your control, right? It is not in a situation where you work with someone to bring a talent in, you come up with all the agreements, you set everything down to make it happen. You, as the promoter, you start printing out flyers and posters and doing promotion around it to get people to come to your show. And then the fact that it gets pulled 1 week before the show, like in the case of the Mart Hitchcock Memorial and the West Coast Pro stuff, the fact that all of this gets thrown under the bus the week before WrestleMania week starts for no apparent reason other than we're not sending our talent anymore, that's bullshit. That is not card subject to change. That's not your regular card subject to change stuff. That is unprofessional bullshit is what that is. And if we go back to think what Nick Nemeth said, what we read just a few moments ago, where he's talking about, protecting partners and brands and whatnot. And, Sean Ross Sapp straight out saying, it's like, well, yeah, TNA didn't like that Collision was aired at the same time on a Thursday. Like, all right, okay. We can all see what happened here. We all understand what happened here, really. Because it is not the first time that a collision airs on a Thursday night head-to-head with TNA. It is not the first time. Doesn't happen all that often, but this was not the first occasion for this to happen. So what do you think happened here? What do you think is actually going on here? Do we really think that this was all just a question of, getting upset that Warner Bros. Moved the show off of the Saturday night because March Madness was on? Do you think that's really the reason why Carlos Silva got upset? I'm even willing to bet, look at this guy. I don't even think this guy can get upset. I think this guy got a call. I think he got a call and was told, hey, how come we've got some of our guys wrestling AEW guys? And Carlos is like, bah, 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 bah. Who approved this, Carlos? Bah, 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 bah. Carlos, you have got to cancel all these matches, pull all our talent. And Carlos bends over the table like the sweetheart that he is, because he is completely subservient to WWE. Don't forget that. We've had precedent with Carlos not being able to stick up for his own interests here. If you recall, on the very first AMC show, the biggest TNA show event to happen within a decade or so, back on cable television, on that show, he was not able to book one of his contracted talent. He was not able to book Leon Slater, who he contracts, because WWE called and said, we need Leon Slater for our show over here in the UK. And what did Carlos Silva do? Yes, absolutely, sir. Mr. Khan, Mr. Levesque. Yes, absolutely. Here he comes. I'll tell him to pack right away, sir. And he did this on a night where he could have showcased his young, most exciting talent that he has. A guy who is destined to be a force in the future of the business of professional wrestling. This guy that we see on our screen right here has that dude signed to his promotion, and he could not say no to WWE. He had, okay, you can send him off. Here you go. He's all yours. So what do you think all of this is? You think it's really Carlos? Carlos signed all of these agreements. He didn't give a fuck. He didn't care. He was like, sure, go run WrestleMania weekend. It's fine. The boys have been doing this for years regardless, right? It doesn't matter. Go do Leon Slater and Ricochet, sure. And because maybe, just maybe, I'm gonna give Carlos Silva maybe too much credit, but I'm gonna give him a smidgen of credit here. I'm gonna tell our boy, I'm gonna give him the credit here. Maybe, just maybe, he's like, well, if Leon Slater gets a high profile match against Ricochet, that's going to help his profile. It's going to elevate him and it's going to elevate us. People will want to see more of Leon Slater and they're going to tune in to TNA to do it. Maybe he had that thought. Maybe he was savvy enough to connect all of that. But this guy's not a pro wrestling booker. This guy's a suit. This guy's a craven, bootlicking suit. WWE called in and they saw it. They're like, hey, how come this match is happening? How come Leon Slater is wrestling an AEW guy? And there is no issue with it happening. It is just an issue that exists in the mind of WWE, of course. Of course. So Carlos Silva, I mean, the rumor going around is the AEW thing, Collision airing at the same time as TNA Impact. But like I said, guys, gals, non-binary pals, like I said, this is not the first time AEW airs at the same time as TNA. Why are we making such a big fucking deal out of it now? We're making a big deal out of it now because Carlos is using that as an excuse because his handlers called him and told him to fix the problem. And he needed an excuse, he needed it out, and there you go. And it's the same thing with the Nick Nemeth thing. And you know what's even more fucking hilarious is that in the case of Ricochet and in the case of Nick Nemeth, these are two guys that WWE fired. And they were like, we don't want anything to do with these people anymore. And still, they're going to stick their nose in there and they're still going to have some level of interest, despite the fact that they outright, well, not fired, I mean, released, right? Not fired. You knew what I was talking about. But these are people that they decided, no, we're not going to renew these people. We're not going to renew some contracts here. They're all moving on. And he can't let go. WWE just can't let go. This is the thing here. The thing here is that these agreements have happened, and they've happened, folks, months ago. These types of matches didn't all sling together, didn't all come together within the past 2 weeks or so. They've come together months ago. For this level of match, this has been discussed. And look, Dave Meltzer even said everyone agreed to do this. Everyone had signed the papers. Even the fucking finishers had been laid out. Everything from A to Z, everyone was in complete agreement with what was going to happen during WrestleMania week. And yet, so what do you think happened here? There is no other conceivable reason than Carlos Silva bending the knee to his master. Just as simple as that. And then it got me wondering, if he's bending the knee, if he's doing what he's told like a good little soldier, what is he getting in return? What has he been getting in return? How great is this relationship right now? Like, he must be having Roman Reigns show up on TV. No, of course he's not. I'm being facetious. But is he doing this to continue having Ariana Grace and stacks, 2 stacks, 10 stack of dimes guy? Is that who he's tuning in? Is that what he's excited about? Getting these people back on his show? Because as far as I understand, he hasn't been having all that much great WWE talent show up on his show recently. He hasn't been having. He had a much bigger influx when everyone was talking about the partnership and they wanted it to come across as big, leading into the negotiations with AMC and the start of AMC. But now that AMC has started, where's the talent exchange? Where are the people going on? Where are the people going on NXT? As far as I understand, there hasn't been any TNA people going on to NXT. And could it be that the last people to be on TNA have been Sol Ruca and Zarya? Like, as a surprise, because Ariana Grace is always fucking there because of her dad, right? What are they getting out of this? I don't even understand what TNA is getting out of this. Like, I understand, like in the traditional professional wrestling partnership, there is generally one partner who is in a bigger, stronger position than the other. That's always how it's been. And the bigger partner usually dictates a lot of terms. But I mean, there's being in a position of power and just being absolutely dog shit to your partner. And I think WWE is exactly like that. What have they done for TNA? Send AJ Styles to come say rah, rah, rah at the start of the first AMC and then go home? How is that exciting? And I'm not saying this because I pity TNA, because I'm like, oh, what a shame they're getting shafted in this deal. No, 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 no. They got into bed with the devil. They deal with the consequences. If they didn't know, there was no reason for them to not know what was going to happen, because there are precedents, decades of precedents with WWE entering partnerships with other promotions. And it usually ends up with the promotion being assimilated, bought out, or crushed into oblivion. Signed off the map. Give us the tapes. We don't need you anymore. There's no other way to frame this, as Carlos Silva is a bozo. There's just no other way. He goes out, gets in touch with these promotions, reach out to him, I should say. They're like, we'd like to book your talent. We want to book these guys. These are the rates. And they're gonna fly in and they're gonna get a nice little extra pay. And he agrees to it all. TNA, the TNA office agrees to everything. They even fucking work out the creative all the way to the finish. And then he pulls the plug. There's rumblings going on in the TNA locker room that they are not happy with this decision. That they are not happy that they going to be, that they likely are going to start losing dates because TNA will no longer approve them to go around anywhere. There's a lot of people who are not okay with that. But you know, probably Carlos is going to sit them down and say, listen, we signed you to a very generous 6-month deal. You have to understand that during those 6 months, you're working for, my priority is you working for me. Don't forget, a lot of these people are like on extremely short deals. Extremely short deals. At the start of the year, when they were trying to re-sign everyone to get, to make sure that they had some talent locked in for the kickoff of the AMC show, it was found out that they were signing up people for 3-4 months. There's going to be a lot of these contracts that are coming up, if not have been coming or have come up. There's a lot of people who are going to be out of contracts within the next couple of weeks. It's preposterous. It's preposterous. But that's ultimately the lesson here, is that this guy is an absolute stooge for WWE. He cannot wait for Nick Khan to give him a call and say, hey, Los, we've got a spot for you. Come on up, brother. And he will be jumping and giggling and kicking his heels the entire way. Because that's how it goes with bozos like this guy. Incredible. Incredible stuff. And it sucks. It sucks for the shows that we're looking forward to having this TNA talent. It sucks that they won't be able to partake, that they won't be able to benefit from the presence of having a Leon Slater versus Ricochet at the Mark Hitchcock Memorial Show. Come on. Like, can anyone just fucking lighten up? So there you go. Stooge, bozo, bitch made. All words that remind me of Carlos Silva. You think TNA is going to pull Zaya Brookside matches? Is she wrestling AEW people? Is Zaya Brookside on the... Is she doing anything WrestleMania week? David Baines, nice to see you and welcome. What a week for corporate synergy. You ain't kidding, pal. Good luck with your in your future endeavors unless you're wrestling the wrong person on the indies. Yeah, pretty much. They definitely didn't say anything about Monet losing the belt to Jody. Oh no, that went over just fine. That went over just fine, didn't it? I mean, there's an entire difference between, card subject to change for, weather, travel, illness, injury. Like, that's what your card subject to change is about. What this guy did here, what TNA did in this circumstance, is that's bad business. It just sucks. Zaya Brookside matches with like a tree falling in the forest. No one's around to hear it. I mean, I don't know what she's up to. I didn't realize she was at WrestleMania week at all. All right, one more thing before we head on out. We're going to talk about La Catalina, who has left CMLL. No, we're not talking about Alberto. I've got nothing more to say about Alberto. Found out about it last stream. Called him a dog shit, piece of shit. And I'm moving on. There's nothing. Hopefully the next time we talk about Alberto is when we talk about his arraignment. But don't hold your breath. No, I want to talk about La Catalina. I want to talk about La Catalina, who's gone from CMLL and is likely heading to AAA. And we are going to read the report from Cubs fan, the Lucha Blog guy, who has been on top of this and gave a very detailed account regarding everything that he has heard. And he'll say it himself in his introductory paragraph, but there's a lot of people who have started covering CMLL because of the AEW connection and have no idea what they're talking about, have no idea how the dynamics are, and suddenly are reposting, retweeting, aggregating things and giving out information that is not exactly true, that you could consider to be false. This is again why I sincerely believe when I tell you, when I say it with my whole chest, when I tell you guys and gals and non-binary pals that there is no such thing as an internet wrestling community in 2026. It just doesn't exist. What we have is a bunch of people posting about wrestling on social media. If we had a community, we would not have people going into Cubs fans' mentions on Twitter, challenging everything that he says, calling him an AEW stan. We would sit back and listen to the premier voice of English language lucha libre coverage that has been around for longer than most of these people have been on planet Earth. That's what we'd be doing if we had truly a wrestling community. But what we have is a bunch of people that can just post whatever the fuck they want with the amount of ignorance that they have with their whole chests, thinking that the more confident they sound saying it, the righter they'll be. And there's a lot of that going around. There's also the story about CMLL being aired on Fox 2 in Mexico, which is good, but also not all that interesting. And there's a lot of people who are making it a bigger deal than what it really truly is. But that will probably be a discussion for next stream, because I still want more information before coming out swinging. So when it comes to La Catalina and her departure and why she's leaving and so on and so forth, I've seen wild fucking things and people starting to think that they're real. I have decided that I am going to trust Cubs because everyone else is probably out to lunch. CMLL announced on Tuesday that Catalina will no longer be part of their roster as of April the 1st. Multiple sources have told me that Catalina will debut in AAA this Saturday. It may have broken on social media by the time you read this. She will become the first wrestler to move from CMLL to AAA since WWE announced its purchase of the company nearly a year ago. It's only been a year ago when you think about it. And it's only been a year ago. And it feels like it's been 10. It's crazy. Catalina's final match was on March 31st in Arena Coliseo, Guadalajara. CMLL's official position is that they offered Catalina a contract and she chose to leave. They would have been happy to keep her. Catalina has not said anything. CMLL putting out that news was to get in front of Catalina showing up in AAA, but word of her departure had already started traveling on Monday night. I'm assuming it is out or would have been out soon anyway. I don't feel like I'm breaking news here as much as saving the effort of writing it. I would have just DM'd someone and told them, but I figured the scoop people would have it anyway. This is not a well-kept secret. La Catalina is the pickup AAA's needed. La Catalina is the pickup AAA needed since WWE took over. She's not the biggest possible name to jump, but she's one who fills the most obvious need. WWE TKO believes in having strong, marketable women stars. The AAA roster they took over did not have many women that fit WWE's conventional thought process about female stars. Catalina herself didn't seem to fit what WWE was looking for during her previous ill-fated stint. Catalina did a fantastic job of finding herself as a wrestler and a person after leaving. She's a great character to play off Las Toxicas, and more valuable to TKO in that role than even Persephone or Olympia would be. This is a great AAA move on paper. They still need depth. Maybe Julissa Mexa and Valentina Reyes next if they're repairing relations with former Latina NXT wrestlers, but it's addressing their biggest weakness. I think this is a good move for La Catalina too. She has a good chance of being the top star of the division. She and Flammer will probably be the title feud for the foreseeable future. She's got a better path getting back to US TV if that's her goal. Catalina worked Ring of Honor tapings in 2025, but AEW had taken a pass on her outside of the Monet title match. Catalina's getting a much easier schedule if she gets the same TV-only contract that Vikingo seems to be on, and that new important signings to AAA would seem to be on. CMLL's statement made it clear they would have liked to bring her back, suggesting she may be able to return if it doesn't work out, and if she doesn't say something to annoy them in the meantime. Most of all, Catalina got into wrestling because she found Trish Stratus in a WWE video game. That's who she wanted to be. That's where she wanted to be when her dream started. The dream went bad along the way, but I doubt it ever completely left her. There is a slight problem with that portion where the dream went bad. As recently as September, Catalina was doing lengthy "I'm never going back to WWE" bits and interviews, and I remember that. I even think we mentioned it here as well. Money and opportunity can change those feelings, I know, but no one likes being perceived as someone going back on their own words. I expect that one of the first outside the ring interviews Catalina will do will be to reconcile all that by explaining why this is different and how things will go better. Catalina leaving CMLL hurts CMLL, though I think the perception there will outweigh the reality. Wow, Cubs. Will outweigh the reality. Catalina and Persephone are the women that more casual CMLL fans have been stuck on. Maybe they know Olympia now. Certainly they're aware of Tessa Blanchard. But it's really those two that seem to capture most attention, and one of them is gone now. Catalina was also at the shows, but she was a bigger social media draw than someone selling a lot of tickets for matches. What CMLL is going to miss most is her youth. Catalina was a young person who felt young in a promotion that likes feeling old, and a women's division that is even older. You can see her influence on Scotty and Kira, and part of why I think Kira is the next logical WWE target. CMLL struggles to create female wrestlers as well as it does men. They didn't really create Catalina. They caught a break that Sarah Stock and Taya, Valkyrie, nudged her to CMLL and away from AAA, but Catalina was wallpaper over a CMLL problem that still isn't fixed. Garra Negra and Kira may be the new wallpaper, but they're not going to be able to find free agent talent to cover their problem forever. Both AAA and CMLL are in the same place here, needing more female wrestlers and being unable to develop them on their own. AAA is going to be able to pay their way out of it as long as they're a TKO company. Maybe that's paying CMLL wrestlers, maybe that's finding people from other disciplines. But CMLL is not going to spend its money that way, so they have to figure out another way of doing it. So that's the long and short of it there, and some very insightful observations at the same time. So essentially, if we recap here, Catalina left because she just got a better offer. She just got a better offer than CMLL, and CMLL and CMLL was like, sure. Yeah, well, we'd like, here's our offer. We'd like to keep you. And apparently this all ended really, really well, as opposed to the Stephanie Vaquer situation. This ended it ended well. It ended the through the front door, as they like to say. And Catalina is welcome back whenever and if ever, like Cubs says, as long as she doesn't say anything to upset the CMLL brass, she will be welcome back there. But I can't help but wonder what came first. I can't help but wonder what came first. Would it have been the fact that Persephone got a dual contract before her, or that Tony Khan just wasn't interested in using her more than he did in Ring of Honor? And then the question, let's say that scenario is the one, right? And we're shooting this shit, we're speculating here, right? Let's say the Ring of Honor situation is the one that happened, right? What if, let's say, what if during her tenure there, they sort of figure out, they see some signs where Catalina has a dream to be in WWE. Look, Cubs pointed it out himself. She wanted to be a wrestler because of Trish Stratus. So she has the dream of being in WWE. It worked. She tried out that one time when she was hanging around Sin Cara, and that didn't quite work out. So she comes around this time. This time she's like, I'm going to make this work this time. because she's always been a WWE fan at heart type of thing. And maybe people in Ring of Honor were like, well, her end goal is WWE, so there's no real point in putting some effort into her, right? I mean, we have to have learned. When I say we, AEW has to have learned at some point with these wrestlers whose end goals is to be in WWE. They have to have learned at this point to sort of find signs to suss them out and see what their intents are, so that they don't end up with another Stephanie Vaquer situation or another Mariah May. You know, the Stephanie Vaquer situation was objectively worse than the optics wise than the Mariah May thing, but you know, like nonetheless, they have to be cognizant about that, right? Because nonetheless, WWE as a brand is much more impactful in Mexico than All Elite Wrestling is, which is normal. Like, we have to acquiesce that whether you like them or not, WWE has a 40-year start on AEW on that front. So, you know, of course it has it has that cachet of being the big time, even for people in Mexico, and, you know, people leaving Lucha Libre to come and make it in the United States in WWF, WWE. I mean, that's always kind of been a thing, right? So it makes me wonder. It's like, could that have been a situation where it's just like during the Ring of Honor tapings, they kind of saw something there and was like, hey, you know what? This girl, she kind of wants to do this, you know, and we're gonna have to let her go. She wants to do WWE. If she wants to be the next Trish Stratus, go ahead, do your thing, type of thing, right? And maybe this was also an impetus to sign and lock down Persephone too. Because everything that Cubs here made so much sense to the point that I hadn't even thought about it. Like, it makes so much sense about the status of the women's divisions, both in CMLL and AAA, and how they're perceived and how little investment there really is in there, and how it's a challenge for both promotions to revitalize and get, you know, have new faces, fresh new faces there as well. It's very interesting to me, and it's something that I had not thought of, and Cubs made an excellent point here. Because look, I have always thought that Catalina had more of a sports entertainment sheen to her presentation in Arena Mexico than anyone else on the roster, than any other woman on the CMLL roster. As much as Persephone is good, there was something in her presentation and her natural charisma that just had Catalina pop off more. So I can't say I'm necessarily surprised. And honestly, I think she's going to thrive more in AAA than she will be in CMLL. I think it is a good move for her. I think it's a good move for AAA as well. And I agree with Cubs. I think she's going to end up in an environment that will use her to her strengths. She's going to be a novelty there because there's not a lot of marketable, charismatic young women wrestling right now in AAA. So I think she's going to work. She's going to work particularly well, and they're going to take a shine to her. And I think she's going to have I think she's going to be big. Legitimately, I think she's going to have a really good career in AAA. And, you know, if she ever were to walk down a little further, cross the border, go up into the United States, I'm sure she'd be glad to end up on main roster as well. But it's interesting how Cubs pointed out that this also exposes the problem with the CMLL women's division, that CMLL has trouble developing women wrestlers on their own, that they oftentimes have to go to the outside. And how successful will they be doing it if they end up having to pay for it? That's not necessarily the strategy CMLL wants to do or can even do. So there you go. I mean, that's the gist of it. I think it gives a pretty good vision of what happened. Everything else is just like speculation and you know, minute details. But you know, the broad strokes is that they offered her a contract. She turned it down. Probably got a better offer from AAA. She took it, and everything was ended amicably. And the door is probably open for her to return if ever it was the case. But something tells me that La Catalina is going to be absolutely fine in AAA. I think she's going to be absolutely okay. So there you go. Go to the sources for the right sources, people. Always remember that. I think the reason they extended Tekla was because they weren't going through the Mariah May 2-year contract BS again. I also think Tekla is really happy to be in AEW. I don't think those negotiations were really hard. Kristen, you got fajitas and fish tacos? That is a lot of food. Sounds like good food. That sounds good. I was going to say, I'd say send some over, but they're going to get soggy. Well, what a night. What a night full of ups and downs and surprises. No, it was fine. We had a good time. We had a good time with the pro wrestling stuff. Once again, thank you everyone for showing up on this lovely Thursday night. Yeah, so as a reminder, there will be no stream on Monday because I will be taking that time instead to record my AEW Dynasty review. So you want to keep your eyes open for that if you are a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. It will be available to you in early access. Other than that, it'll be available to everyone else during the week. So so make sure that you come back next week nonetheless. Like, you know, there's going to be the Dynamite review. There's going to be the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. And we'll be back with a stream next Thursday. So you see how all that just comes together is so neat and clean and sweet and sour. And I don't know what I'm talking about. Thank you, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Everyone for joining me this evening. I hope you all have a great weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Have a lot of fun. And I'll see you next time.